At 20,000 feet, American bombers ruled the sky. On paper. In reality, bombs fell harmlessly into the ocean while Japanese destroyers raced below, untouched, resupplying entire armies in broad daylight. Pilots followed the manuals. Navigators trusted the math. And every mission ended the same way. Empty bomb bays, intact enemy ships, and rising frustration. World War II had reached a dead end. No manual had prepared the United States Army Air Forces for one simple truth. Bombing moving warships from high altitude did not work. What followed was not innovation born in laboratories, but desperation forged in combat. Engineers said it was impossible. Safety officers called it suicide. Doctrine declared it heresy. Yet in the Pacific, failure was no longer an option. This is the story of the moment American air power abandoned the rulebook, flew at 50 feet above the sea, and changed naval warfare forever. Before the war, American air doctrine was clear. High-altitude bombing wins wars. Precision would come from height. Safety would come from distance. Bombers would be untouchable fortresses. But the Pacific was not Europe. Japanese destroyers were fast, over 35 knots, and capable of violent evasive maneuvers. A bomb dropped from 20,000 feet took nearly 40 seconds to reach the surface. That was an eternity. By the time bombs hit the water, ships were gone. Between 1942 and early 1943, dozens of bombing missions attacked Japanese convoys, and almost none succeeded. Pilots knew it. Commanders knew it. The enemy knew it. Japanese sailors began mocking high-altitude bombers. They called them cloud droppers. By 1943, the situation became critical. Japan relied on destroyers and fast transports to supply isolated garrisons across New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. These ships operated in daylight because American bombers posed no real threat. General George C. Kenney, commander of Allied air forces in the Southwest Pacific, understood the truth before Washington did. This war will not be won by theory, he said. It will be won by what works. Kenney needed a way to hit ships directly, not near them. That meant flying low, dangerously low. The proposal horrified engineers. Mount a 75mm artillery cannon, the same weapon used against tanks, inside a bomber. Fire it forward, at ships, from 50 feet above the ocean. Engineers calculated recoil forces, structural stress, shock waves. Their conclusion was unanimous. The aircraft would tear itself apart. The pilot would be killed. They refused. But one man did not. His name was Paul Pappy Gunn, mechanic, engineer, and combat pilot. Gunn had watched bombs miss again and again. He didn't care about doctrine. He cared about results. The aircraft was the B-25 Mitchell. Originally designed as a medium bomber, it became something else entirely. Bombardier stations were removed. Glass noses replaced with steel. Machine guns multiplied. 8, 10, sometimes 12 forward-firing .50 calibers. And in the center of it all, a 75mm cannon. The shell weighed 15 pounds. At low altitude, it hit like a hammer. Pilots trained to fly below mast height, lower than ship bridges. They skipped bombs across water like stones. They fired cannons straight into hulls. This was no longer bombing. It was aerial gunnery. March 1943. A Japanese convoy, 8 transports, 8 destroyers, attempted to reinforce New Guinea. They believed air cover and speed would protect them. They were wrong. American B-25s attacked at wave-top height. Cannons punched through bridges. Machine guns raked decks. Ships burned. In 2 days, the convoy was annihilated. 8 transports sunk. 4 destroyers destroyed. Over 3,000 Japanese troops lost at sea. No Allied ship was involved. Naval warfare had changed permanently. After Bismarck Sea, Japanese commanders changed everything. Daylight convoys stopped. Supplies moved at night, slower, smaller, weaker. Entire island garrisons starved. The cannon-armed bomber became legend. Not because it was safe, but because it worked. Innovation did not come from safety margins. It came from necessity. History often celebrates perfection, but war is not perfect. Sometimes victory belongs to those willing to break the rules, to fly lower, aim closer, and risk everything. At 50 feet above the sea, American air power learned that survival does not always come from distance. Sometimes it comes from daring to get closer than anyone else ever would. These are the forgotten World War II stories.